Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and welcome to News in Focus. This episode will be available on our YouTube channel. Reports from Israel are indicating that Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government wants to complete a full-scale invasion of Gaza. This comes as starvation, famine and continuous bombing ravages the enclave. Since October the 7th, 2023, the genocide in Gaza has claimed over 61,000 lives and has injured close to 150,000. What is the way now forward in terms of Israel and its aims to complete the genocide in Gaza? Joining me now, I'd like to welcome from San Francisco, no stranger to us here at Hilaal TV, Monadel Herzallah, who is part of the US Palestinian Community and also a Middle East analyst. Monadel, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and shukran so much for joining us.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Monadel, I just want to obviously look at these reports that are coming from Israel. And when you hear, of course, a lot of the rhetoric that has been occurring from the far right of this Israeli government, we shouldn't be surprised by this, am I right in saying, given that with all the bombing, the starvation and the famine that's going, this ground invasion was an inevitable possibility.
Yes. Basically, what the Israeli government are in a big crisis at this point. And I just wanted to, for our viewers, just for the last 24 hours, we had 138 people murdered, and 77 were injured by the Israelis just for the last 24 hours. That says, and this has never stopped, as you have mentioned earlier, and the declaration by the Israeli government, by Benjamin Netanyahu, who's like waiting for a meeting with the cabinet, I believe that even he has his own internal crisis in the Israeli front. That like this is at the Yael Julan, who is one of the Israeli opposition, was saying that this declaration to occupy Gaza, whole Gaza, will really paralyze the economy, and this will big more pressure on Netanyahu government. So Netanyahu government may not survive that. However, when he says that occupation of Gaza, as if he didn't declare occupation of Gaza in October 8th of 2023, and he has failed to do so, and has costing so much money with that. And also the Israeli entity, the Zionist entity of Israel, is suffering an international isolation and made the Israeli being hated around the world. So I don't see nothing but an extension to something that is already being done, which is the occupation or trying to occupy Gaza. There's nothing new about this except just making a signal that he's still in power, he's still in charge, and basically that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Monadel. I think, and I agree with you, we all knew Gaza was occupied, and this, even before October the 8th, it's been occupied for quite some time by the Israeli government. But herein lies the challenge, is that the ethnic cleansing that they have been speaking about, it's now going ahead and really gaining momentum, especially when you listen to individuals like Daniela Weiss, who has been going on to many media platforms and openly calling for the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians in Gaza. Not just her, and it's two individuals we've spoken about quite a lot, Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich. Just on Sunday, he went to the Al-Aqsa compound and again was creating issues there. They're not keeping this a secret, Monadel. They're showing it to the world that they want the ethnic cleansing, not just in Gaza, but also in the occupied West Bank.
What makes it possible for us, first of all, the resistance of the Palestinians has continued in much more, the best way they can do. The Palestinian young fighters are fighting every single day. However, what will make the Zionist state are saying this that aggressively is the fact the rest of the world, in my opinion, is being silent. Even the Western recognition of Palestine is really ridiculous. It comes late and empty, to justify silence on the ongoing war of genocide and political and military support for Israel. That's what they're doing. The European, I don't think we should be misled by such a declaration by the Western recognition. So Israel is only doing that because they have a green light to do so. France recently announced its intention to recognize the state of Palestine, joining like several Western countries, most notably Britain and Canada, and along with Norway and Spain. It's just an announcement followed under flashy headlines, such as, occupation cannot continue forever, as if the occupation did not start, or just a piece that only. It is literally misleading, and this is the way politically that Israel is able to do that with no one, under no accountability whatsoever.
Monadel, and that's why I want to bring you to, of course, the West, but I have to focus on the country where you are right now, the United States of America. Yesterday, Donald Trump was asked by reporters about those reports that have been surfacing of Netanyahu's plan to go ahead and occupy Gaza and, of course, complete the ethnic cleansing. And his quotes were, it is now up to Israel. Well, you've been fueling this Israeli war machine, and I'm talking about the United States of America. So, again, this shouldn't be a disappointing comment that is coming from Donald Trump, or actually a surprising comment that is coming from Donald Trump, because he has, again, really shown that any fracture that he had with Netanyahu is a complete myth. They are as close as they can come, and Trump is really green-lighting, as you mentioned, green-lighting any continuous massacre that is occurring in Gaza.
Absolutely. He has the full support of the government of the United States. As we noticed that there's been like a break now in August for the Congress. And right now, guess what? I mean, 4 out of 5 congressmen, including the Speaker of the House, is in Israel right now. Is in Israel. They're not meeting with their districts as they usually do that. So what's the priority for this government is the safety and the protection of the state of Israel. In addition, recognizing the fact that the base has really started to fracture among for Trump. Also, there is people who are part of it. The Republican Party is saying, no, we don't want to spend that much money on Israel. And that is really surprising, but that phenomena is growing among the American public. Or also, there's the public opinion has started to shift towards supporting the Palestinians. And that's not going to, that will continue to grow. And as you have mentioned earlier, nobody will mark Trump's word as what it is, So I don't think that the U.S. position will continue the same, and because Israel is going to continue to harvest failure after failure.
Donald Trump, Monadel, here's a man who came in and said, and I'll never actually forget, and I remember having a panel discussion last year with 2 individuals you know quite now, Munna Tareh and Haitham Salaude, and he was sitting with a crowd of a Muslim and Arab voter base, and I think it was in New York or Michigan, if I stand to be corrected, and he said, I intend on ending the war. Of course, he claims it to be a war, and I think we can call it a genocide when you see what is happening in Gaza right now. I will end the war between Hamas and Israel. Well, he lied, didn't he? Because it's quite clear this isn't stopping, and if there is going to be a green light from one of Israel's allies, it's going to be from Washington.
I believe that they had the myth, they had the belief to crush the resistance, and that's what they were counting on. In addition to the fact that Trump words doesn't mean anything anymore in the public media or the U.S. media as well. We don't forget that Trump pledged to build the wall between Mexico and the United States to prevent the immigration to the United States. And he claimed that last year in his first term, and he said, I will build the wall, I will have Mexico pay for it. He did not build the wall, and Mexico did not pay for it. So and that's an example of many declarations that said he keeps talking about tariffs against the Chinese and the rest of the world. And the American.
But he wants to hit South Africa with 30% tariffs, Monadel. just to add that to context,
Yeah. So what is he like? He's building the base of enemies around the world. So I don't think this president will continue to get any support from the rest of the world. And we have a saying in English that if you are in a hole, stop digging. And he's continued to dig as well as Israel is continued to dig. So we're really in a time that our most important priority is to end the genocide, and that's what we are going with building the movement to do so.
Monadel, you spoke about Mike Johnson, who is the Speaker of Congress, and he was in Israel. Still easy if I stand to be corrected, and he came out blatantly saying that this is the area of Judea and Samaria. This is, of course, the language which is spoken among many of the Zionist lobby groups and, of course, the Israeli government. This two-state conference that happened last week, and both Israel and the United States did not attend this conference that was happening in New York. This two-state solution thing, Monadel, we should forget about it, am I right? Because if Israel's not going to play ball, if the United States is not going to assist in this, then what's the point?
Basically, it is playing like good cop, bad cop, so to speak. So the Western, as I mentioned earlier, the Western recognition comes, even if it is real, it comes late and empty. That's just justifying the silence on the ongoing war of genocide. So the Europeans are playing a role, and the U.S. continue to play a role. And the occupation cannot, as they're saying, the occupation cannot continue forever. A just peace is the only way out, and that's what they're saying. And they're saying that they believe in two-state solution. What two-state solution? If you look at the map, if you look at the so-called map that they're offering the Palestinian, you just mentioned that Mike Johnson was in Palestine, in occupied Palestine, and that delegation have visited a new illegal settlement being built, which means that they are continue to amid the ongoing war of extermination in Gaza. And that has been going for the last 2 years. One of the questions that can be asked of the Western countries that decided to recognize the Palestinian state, so to speak, where was the human conscience when the catastrophe of war and the killing has begun in October 8th? Where was it? And why did the recognition come after all this destruction, all this killing, all this famine, and not before? So the most important question for us is, does the advanced confession express a moral position? Is nothing but empty promises, or it is just a pretext to justify the silence over 2 continuous years of genocide? Well, that's the question.
I would quote Dr. Francesca Albanese in saying there needs to be action against Israel, and that includes the potential boycotts that need to be instigated against them. Monadel, as we see what's happening in Gaza right now, we see the images of starving children. We see mothers who are begging for baby formula for their children. It's as sad as we can get. I don't think any human being in their right conscience can look at those pictures and not shed a tear. I saw images yesterday when, of course, they were flying over Beit Lahia, which is within the Gaza Strip, and you see the flattening. It looks like what the ITV reporter had mentioned, a post-apocalyptic scene, I beg your pardon. Surely now the world can now look at what is happening in Gaza within this genocide and say, this can't continue, and that somehow, some way, Israel needs to hold itself accountable to this. But we know, and we both know, it's not going to happen as long as the West is giving that backing towards Israel.
Yes, as the support, the military support continues, the financial support continues, the political support continues, we do feel that Israel will continue to do its vicious attack against the Palestinians, the war of extermination. You just mentioned about Beit Lahia and then also Kufr, the Rafah
yes.
and Khan Yunis. And all these areas has been totally destroyed. I was hearing a report that the ruins of on the ground of Gaza, it's weighs up to 53,000 tons. It is like from the Grand Park of New York. It will be, if we put all these ruins of Gaza together, it will be up to 32 feet up there. That's how much the damage and destroy has been done to the people of Gaza and their houses.
Monadel, from an American perspective, I keep listening to Rashida Tlaib, who's of course a congresswoman, and she keeps saying, we're going to put this pressure, we're going to, alongside many other of the Congress people, including the likes of Bernie Sanders and Ilham Umar, are going to put pressure to stop the weapon sales. It's going to be very tough given that Congress has much more Republicans within it. But from American civil society perspective, how much pressure is going to continually being put on the U.S. to try and make sure that somehow, even though it's a tough challenge, that this aid that Israel is getting from Washington is put to a stop?
I believe that Rashida Tlaib is doing the best she can in her position, and there's some political support is not as good as we would like it to be, but the pressure is being built among the bases of the American public. The different sectors, the student movement, very soon they will go back to the universities. We will witness more uprising of the refusing to support Israel, and Israel will continue to be isolated. I believe that there will be many, not only demonstrations, but also I would anticipate an elevation of boycott of not only products that's been sold in Israel, but also ways of the U.S. to ship arms to Israel. We are calling for arms embargo, and a lot of cities around the United States has already passed resolutions for some of them for ceasefire, and some even have passed resolutions to end the genocide, and also we're calling for sanctions against the state of Israel. This is a movement that's in the growing stage, and then it will take a lot of time to really to build it, and Rashida would need more supporters in the Congress. Just to mention Rashida, there is a lot of people who support the Palestinians in the Congress, but they don't have the guts and the courage to say what Rashida is saying. She said in the conference, you mentioned the popular conference last year, she was a guest in our conference, and she mentioned the fact that her colleagues tell her that we support the Palestinians, and when they see her, we were really, she says, why are you whispering? Why didn't you say that? Why didn't you vote? So there is people that are unable to speak out, and we're counting on this to continue and grow and make sure that it will stop. But we're calling upon the world, people around the world. in our brothers and sisters in South Africa, in Latin America, in Europe, in all over the world, to make pressure happens on the government of the United States, number one, and number two, on the continue to isolate the Zionist state of Israel.
Monadel, always a pleasure having you on. Ma'as-salama, wa alaikum salam. Shukran so much for joining us.
Ma'as-salama.
Okay.
Shukran. Thank you.
The absolute pleasure. Monadel Herzallah coming to us from San Francisco in California. He's part of the US Palestinian Community Network and a Middle East analyst. Now, that's all we have for you here on this edition of News in Focus. As always, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Hilaal TV. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.